Overmaska here with a 8th edition battle report. Grey Knights versus Astra Militarum. This battle report was recorded down in Houston at the Dragon's Lair there. Great place, friendly people on a Friday night match. Houston, a fairly competitive area. This is an experimental list that has, since this battle report, done well for me. But this was the first time I had played this incarnation of the list, so we'll see how that went out for me. So in the pregame for the Grey Knights, we've got my list here. We've got a soup because pure Grey Knights is just untenable even after the chapter approved changes. The Grey Knights being represented by 3 Grandmaster Dread Knights and a Venerable Dreadnought. Grandmasters all equipped with fist, sword, heavy side cannon, and heavy silencer, save for this one in the middle who has a heavy incinerator. I've got a Death Court of Krieg detachment, 2 field marshals, and 3 squads of grenadiers, plus 2 teams, or 2 sets of 3 teams of twin heavy stubbers, just to have some pretty powerful anti-infantry when combined with the heavy side cannons and Gatling silencers. The Venerable Dreadnought does a great job of hitting things you can't see like Dark Reapers while cleaning up messes made by this guy here, the Acastus Knight Peripheron. The Grandmaster Dread Knights, or the Dread Masters as I call them, have been converted, or at least 2 of them. You know, the Grey Knights were very powerful in 5th edition, and when I started playing in 6th edition, I got a bunch of flack for playing Grey Knights, even though they weren't powerful anymore, so... And the fluff had just been torn through the mud. So, I decided to lean into that. If the Grey Knights were incorruptible, you gotta corrupt the machines, and either cage the pilot or reject the pilot. Usually get some heads turning at tournaments. I like the wow factor. They got the pop. The Acastus Knight Peripheron, built and painted just the week before this battle report was filmed. I've got the twin magma las cannons and the las cannons on them. Usually running with the auto cannons these days, and the ignore line of sight missile launcher. He just can really kill 2 vehicles a turn unless you're a little unlucky, and we're going to talk about that later, the variability of the Acastus Knight Peripheron even with rerolls. So over with the Astra Militarum, my opponent, he has the 3 Basilisks for line of sight killing and just vehicle killing, and because they just got that new formation in Vigilus, he's got his 3 tank commanders with the plasma sponsons and turret, with las cannon in the hull. He's got 3 Hellhounds, the Forge World pattern, more damage but fewer shots, but the real deadly thing about it is on a 4-up it does a d6 explosion to everything within 6 inches of it. Really gives melee armies a hard time. And then we've got all of his men, ranks on ranks on ranks of infantry, giving him both CP, infantry killing power, board control. They're just really great models this edition. We have our battlefield, fairly standard battlefield with line of sight blocking cover, located in a few areas with the objectives sort of just thrown into the battlefield. We didn't know how we were going to be deploying when we were placing these objectives, so just sort of kept them in the middle. Another view of that, portent to what to come, honestly. So we're deploying, and we deployed Dawn of War. I deployed quicker, as you might have imagined. So I got the +1 on my roll-off. Even then, I'm still trying to break some line of sight between his tanks. only so much I can do. I have my infantry spread, trying to hide out and rush for these objectives later when it becomes apparent. But that didn't turn out. He had too many mortar teams, as you might have seen. And he seized on me. If I had gotten the first turn, it would have probably meant a lot, but you can't rely on first turn, even with the +1. So let's see what he got up to. He pushed his hellhounds forward, but not a lot of other movement. As you can see, I'm sort of blocked from trying to get into his lines by these hellhounds, and they're very dangerous explosions. But if I can manage to do it, it's got a soft underbelly. Another view of that, just to show how he controls about half the board now at the end of turn 1 with his movement. This is after his shooting phase, and you can see my Venerable Dreadnought has met its end by the Basilisk. He knew that if he had kept it alive, it would have aced one of his Basilisks. And it took all 3 Basilisks with the Vigilus shooting twice stratagem. That is to say, one of the Basilisks got to shoot twice to take it down, and he just hammered all of my infantry. I still thought I could take it, still thought I was okay. As you can see, he's got 2 tanks here on average rolls. This Acasta Sniper Peripheron could kill both, and then I was going with the Free Blade because I can't make it a character. There's no legal way to do it without 2 other knights. But at least with the Free Blade, you get the rerolls from the qualities, and the burdens, they're easy enough to not interact with. He's leadership 9, you get the one that makes it 1 harder to fail. You need like an 11 or 12. On 2d6, you get command points from your Brigade of Guard. It's not really a problem, and it really helps out. So I thought I was in good shape still. So my turn 1 with the Grey Knights, we move forward. We got several squads of infantry killed. We killed one of the tanks with the Acasta Sniper Peripheron, but as you notice, there's still a second tank there. Damage, 6 wounds on it, but it didn't go down. Rolled lower number of shots, forgot the reroll from the quality, like I said, the first time I ever ran this list, and it just didn't die. The Acasta Sniper Peripheron, even though it can have rotate ion shields for 1 command point, even though it's tough 9, even though it's got 30 wounds, it's very good, but it makes or breaks on a small number of rolls, and that volatility of the rolls really lowers the skill cap of the army, and I'm not happy with how point shoot it is. Against different lists, you can bring it forward and make it melee. It's fairly decent there. But it is what it is. As you can see, I've moved my other Dreadmasters to try to capitalize on the board as best as I can. This Dreadmaster is going to kill this Hellhound and pile into this Hellhound so it can't shoot. This Dreadmaster is going to try to kill this Hellhound. I say try because you'll see in a moment how it disappointed me. And pile into this tank that I didn't kill to turn off its shooting. And then this Dreadmaster is going to try to charge this tank. It's difficult to see, but I'm in the reroll aura from my Warlord trait to reroll charge distances first to the fray. And we'll see if that works out for me. If I can manage that, I'll turn off most of the shooting that threatens me still, and really let me to start pounding this line, pushing them back so my few units can control the board. The side cannon and silencer is doing a good job of wiping the infantry out. The heavy incinerator doing a good job of hitting the infantry. So it was working okay, even with the disappointing result here. As you can see, we've got primary units highlighted. I went to charge it, this Hellhound, with this Dreadmaster who had cast Sanctuary on himself and had succeeded to get behind him. 9-inch charge. Was very happy. All I had to do was kill it and get in on the tank. As you can see in his shooting phase, he had done 8 wounds to me. I only had 4 left, so I'm hitting still on 2s because Grandmasters don't lose weapon skill, but they do lose number of attacks. So I only had 4 attacks, but he only has 4 wounds left. See, I count wounds up, he counts wounds down. So this should have been fairly straightforward. It did not happen. Did not kill that Hellhound. Did not make it into that tank. Did kill this Hellhound, did make that. But there's only so much you can do when you roll 2 1s and 2 2s to win this Hellhound. Just the low number of dice this list uses really makes it susceptible to the volatility of the dice. You win real hard, you lose real hard, but there's not a lot in between. So I lost all my Dread Knights. I made very few saves, but even then they were wounded. There was a lot of firepower I didn't tie up. This was an expected result. He's moving a Hellhound forward to take one of the objectives from me. But at this point, that's not very important. It really does come down to, can I kill enough of these tanks and score enough Maelstrom cards? As I haven't even been mentioning the Maelstrom cards, we hadn't really scored all that much. They had really come out strange. End up meleeing it to death. Did end up shooting one of the tanks to death, the one that I had been pounding before. Did end up killing one of these basilisks. So very deadly turn for the Knight Peripheron. Came down, did 20 wounds out of my 30. Wasn't looking good, but there wasn't much left to do against me. But in the end, his scattered shots of las guns and las cannons in the teams did kill my list. So if we go back and look at the scene, this is when it was over. Everything else was a last charge for victory. And now this is a low number of models in the list, but it turns out in the ITC format, this is a very anti-meta comp. The number of line of sight attacking units, at least in the Houston meta, is fairly low now that Dark Reapers are unfavored, now that the Mortars are unfavored. We will have to keep an eye out for the Basilisks. I think that's a very powerful formation they got in Vigilis. But more people are moving towards Orcs in that Codex drop. This list doesn't have any trouble. This Grey Knight list doesn't have trouble with Orcs. People even bringing 90 boys can't get through up the 2-up armor. The 2-up invul on one Dreadmaster, or the 2-3-up invuls between 2 Dreadmasters, or just the 4-up invul, really. They're having trouble getting through all the tough 6, tough 9 bodies I have. So what I took away from this battle was that we had a weakness to volatility of the dice and to try to find as many sources of rerolls as possible, hence the qualities and burdens on the free blade and the brigade or battalion. I always mess that up. So I'm going to say both, and I'm going to edit it in the post. Brigade of Guard, Battalion of Guard. I'm not going to edit it. We'll just put it in. We'll just put it in. First video, whatever. The other weakness being just unfathomable number of boys. You know, what do I do against 200 boys? I have to control the board, so I need that first turn. It has been quoted that this list would be stronger as an Imperial Knight list with Guard, and that's true. The 3-Knight list with Guard is very powerful. That's why Knights are 30 to 40% of the meta right now. Anyway, I hope you found this battle report informative, and I hope to bring another one to you soon. Overmaska out.